Poddin My Noggin, hosted by CK Sims, creating a platform to elevate, educate, and heal by creating a space where people can share their stories of struggle, triumph, and redemption. CKS Media.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Poddin My Noggin. I'm your host, always the same, CK Sims, and today we are joined by Gretchen Schoser.
Close.
See, okay, I should have asked first.
It's Schoser with the, it's like a hard O. Schoser.
Schoser, okay.
Like hoser.
Okay, so Gretchen Schoser. Perfect. Welcome to the show, Gretchen. It's nice to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, and you're very welcome. Thanks for coming on. I'll tell you what I tell all my guests is that I don't do deep dives before the interview. If obviously apart from like the initial sort of exchange, and I'm like, okay, sounds like a good fit for me, except. And then just before the podcast starts, I do a read of your form and whatever I can find out. And this allows me to maintain organic conversation. That's what I prefer over everything. And I feel like I'm a newbie today because I didn't put Do Not Disturb on my cell phone. So that's done. Okay, so where should we begin? Actually, I want to begin at the beginning, I think. What was Gretchen like growing up?
A huge tomboy. Probably everybody knew I was a lesbian before even I knew I was. I had a good life. You know, I have 2 brothers and a sister. I had an amazing mom and dad. Spent a lot of time outside. Thankfully, you know, during the time I was growing up, we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have couldn't take pictures of what we were doing, which was perfect, right?
Yes.
The fact that we made it to 61 still surprises me every day. But I had a really good life. Did some really unexpected things. Had a couple of bad nosedives. I had a real problem with drugs coming right out of high school and into college. And then I turned my life around. And
do you think the drugs, and just a quick question, do you think the drugs were sort of a way of coping with the sexuality?
I think it was more of just like trying to fit in, trying to find trying to find out who I was. I grew up in a pretty affluent neighborhood. I graduated from Columbine in '82. You know, we were all latchkey kids, right? Okay. All our parents worked. We were, left to our own accord. But, thankfully like I said, I had a really good, loving family. And
I love this.
I was excited. My parents accepted me for who I am. I never thought differently. And I was super fortunate.
How beautiful is that though? Right? Because like that part of your story is something that I wish we could hear from the masses.
Yes.
Is that they lived authentically themselves, and in doing so they found acceptance within their nuclear family. Right? Like that's profound. And It wasn't my experience either, right? So like I've talked about this on my podcast as well. My experience, I think I knew though that I was gay. Didn't understand it quite, but I knew at a very young age that I was more drawn to boys than I was to girls. And how that it wasn't manifesting sexually at that time at like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, but it was manifesting as drawn. But I knew early, and my parents were Pentecostal ministers. So yeah. So I don't look at that part of my life and say it was good. It wasn't bad though. Because I think when you get to a certain age and you start looking backwards, you realize, oh, okay, well, it wasn't as bad as you might have thought it was in the moment because feelings are so raw. But anyway, I'm not interviewing myself. I'm interviewing you. So you went through and you said you had nosedives. I feel like nosedives are what creates great people in life. Like it's that erosion of what we think we might be or want to be. And then along comes these tsunamis in life that just takes pieces of the rock that we've created off out to sea. And we're like, oh, okay, well, I am a different person than maybe who I thought I was. So I love this. I just want to call this out. I love that your childhood was beautiful and that you grew up being accepted. It gives me goosies because I think that that's really great. And I commend your parents as well, right? Like
Yeah.
that's a big deal.
It was a big deal because it was like, over 40 years ago.
That's
And
insanity.
and the fact that they were so welcoming and like didn't bat an eye. And it was kind of funny because like I had taken my mom out to a gay bar to come out to her, and she's like, "Well, I've known for years." Well, thank you for cluing me in. All right, but I played softball, all the from like my teenage years on. I play with the boys because I have a whole lot of girls in my neighborhood. Like I was the one out there like throwing dirt clods, raising hell, riding people's bikes down a hill that we probably shouldn't have been riding down. I have a lot of stitches to prove for that, like a lot of scars, but like I was really 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 fortunate, and but I will say, like when my mom passed away, it was really really hard.
Yeah.
Like really hard. And my dad passed away like 10 years after that. When my mom passed away, it was really hard. Like my mom was kind of the glue that held us all together.
Yeah.
And just a good person. She was a nurse, and when we had her funeral, there were like over 300 people that came to my mom's funeral. Like just a good, loving soul.
Yeah.
And I go back and I look at pictures of my mom and I look at myself, and like there's so many similarities. Like I didn't go down the nursing path. I went down the nerd path of, being a techie, but like, just, she was just a good person. She had her own quirks too. So
Yeah, of course. Well, everybody does. I don't think anybody's ever perfect because I don't think perfect is real, for one.
No.
I think it's this illusion that we're sold, and we try to strive for, but it's fruitless because we can never be perfect. What is even perfect? But I love that, and it just sounds to me like your mom was a good person, but then and a natural carer, that she decided to take that natural caring and make a business out of it, essentially, earn money from it as well. So that was her profession, caring for others as a nurse. And nurses are, in my opinion, are unsung heroes. We do sing them, and we have those conversations, but they don't get enough credit.
Yeah,
Because
they go through some crap.
Yeah, well, they see humanity at their worst, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have to tell you a quick story because I feel like we're friends now. I went, I don't even know how long ago this was, like 10 years ago. And I was in the most excruciating pain I had ever been in my life. My foot felt as if it was broken. Like that's I couldn't put weight on it. I couldn't move it. It was swollen, all of these things. And so it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, I didn't have an accident. I didn't hit it. There was nothing in memory that could contribute to this. So I take a cab to the hospital. I find a wheelchair, like literally couldn't put weight on my foot. Went to the triage station, and I'm not proud, but in my white entitled, like sort of state of painful mind, I was like, I need to be seen some things. And the triage nurse was, you have plantar fasciitis and you just need to go home and stretch it and whatever. And I'm like, I just chose not to accept that. And every single nurse that I came in contact with was telling me the exact same thing. And then I just wouldn't accept it. So I was a bit of a tyrant And that was one of the only times that I was a bit of a tyrant towards nurses. And anyway, I go see the doctor. The doctor comes in. The doctor looks at me. And I'm like, you need to do something, like painkillers, something, like whatever. Plantar fasciitis. I still didn't believe her. I was like, how can plantar fasciitis, this is something that affects lots of people, I did a quick Google, cause me this much pain? I go home and I write the longest, absolute abhorrent review of that hospital and those nurses. Anyway, long story short, the doctor and the nurses all gave me tips to help my situation. And so I was like, whatever, I don't know what to do. I'm in so much pain, I'm going to do it. The next morning, after sleeping with my foot in a sneaker, because that's what, if you don't have a splint, stick it in a sneaker so it keeps your foot straight. I wake up and the pain is lessened. And then throughout the day, as I'm rolling my foot over a tennis ball, as they had indicated, the pain is getting less and less and less. Anyway, long story short, 3 days later, there's no broken foot. It was plantar fasciitis. And I had left this very nasty review. And so I went back to Google and I left the original review and added onto it. Because I was like, okay, I want to use this as a teaching lesson for me, but also a teaching lesson for others as well. I'm like, when we are in our most severe pain, we still have to remember that when we're interacting with nurses, they're human, and you may be the 500th person they've interacted with in just their shift, and the 500th person saying that, they're the most important person in the entire world, because that's how we feel when we're in pain. But we have to lead with kindness. And the truth of the matter is, I totally ate humble pie in that Google. I wonder if I could find it still. Was that each of the nurses, and I think there was about 6 before I got to the emergency room doctor, told me exactly the same thing and what to do, and I wouldn't listen to them. And I thought their service was awful, when in actual fact, they were telling me what it was and what I should go home and do, and that they couldn't do anything about it in a hospital. So anyway, sorry, sidetracked, because that's how it happens sometimes. So let me ask you a question. You said your mom passed away, and that was devastating for you.
Oh, yeah.
And what year was that?
1997.
Jeez, that's a long time ago. Yeah, so that's, oh gosh, okay. And so she was young then.
Yeah, she had leukemia. And so she was diagnosed in August of 1996 and died in February 1997. And we buried my mom on Valentine's Day in 1997.
Okay, so 2 things are coming up right now. So you would have been what, early to mid 30s at that point?
Mid 30s, yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's just too young. I think it's too young to lose a parent.
It's too young, but there was some really cool things that happened in that little time frame. So my wife and I just celebrated 30 years this past Monday.
Oh,
and
congrats.
my mom got to meet her. And when my mom met my wife, she said that she was the best thing that ever happened to me, and that she made her promise to take care of me, and she did. And 30 years, for us, that's a huge milestone, because in our lives, right, we're not really known for monogamy or staying with the same partner. And for me, it was a huge deal, and just super fortunate. My wife's my biggest cheerleader, and I'm forever grateful to her.
I love that so much. You're correct. In our community, longevity is a word that is not understood. Monogamy, it's rare to see, but always so beautiful. I think I went through a period in my life where I was like resentful towards people who had long-lasting, loving relationships in the gay community, because there was a part of me that wasn't healed yet. And then moved into the part where, when now I hear about those beautiful long relationships, And I categorize it as beautiful long relationships based on how you're telling me and your facial expressions and your energy and that sort of thing. We both know, and I think most people know, that in 30 years you're going to have your ups and downs. Like, that's just relationships. Like yeah.
So, like, the key, I'm going to tell you what the key is. The key
Okay.
is laughter. We laugh every single day. Probably some of the stuff we laugh at is a little irreverent, probably going to go to hell. But you know what? We still laugh. We find joy in every single day, because life is hard.
Life
But
is hard.
life is really hard, and you need to be able to laugh off the bad stuff and find common ground and communicate and stand each other up. And I'm so extremely fortunate.
I love this. I love it a lot. I think it's fantastic. And I have kind of a bit of a morbid sense of humor. It's a terrible thing. I'm very transparent about it. I will laugh at things that I probably shouldn't laugh at, or find things funny that I should probably find funny. But at the end of the day, it's just also how I process information sometimes. I'm the type of person that if I love someone and they were to slip and fall on their face, I will do two things. One, I will burst out laughing, but in the same moment, I will be reaching to make sure that they're okay. So I am laughing my ass off while making sure that they're okay. It's just how my brain works. So 1990. So on Valentine's Day as well. So have you been able to reclaim Valentine's Day?
Oh, yeah, in like a really huge way. So, part of my story is I had a mental health breakdown on Christmas Day 2022. I tried to commit suicide. Thank God for that glimmer of hope that things were going to be better, and that somebody picked up at 988. I'm alive today because of 988. So we, the very next day, I started sharing my journey on social media. I got a whole bunch of responses from people thanking me, because now they didn't feel like so terrified and alone in their own journey. And then I would call my manager at the time, and I use that term super loosely because I retired like 4 months after she was my manager. But we'd been friends for 7 years. We would call and laugh every day about the stupidest shit. But we found that by doing that every day in the morning, that was a healer for me, because laughing increases your endorphins, gets the cortisol going. And one day during one of the laughing sessions, she's like, "Hey, we should do a podcast." And I'm like, "Okay, let's do a podcast." So that was January 14th, 2023. We launched our first episode on February 14th, 2023, to change the trajectory of that day and what it meant for me. And it was such a special day. It's turned out to really change how I feel on that day. And my wife had always made Valentine's Day special for me anyway, because I hated the day. Like it would come up and I'd be like, "Yep, I'm not celebrating this year." And I didn't celebrate for years, but over the last 2 years, I've really celebrated, and I know that in my heart, my mom would have been really proud of me. So
For reclaiming that
reclaiming
power.
my power, and listening to that glimmer that things would get better. And like I said, I'm very thankful to be alive today, because my life would not be where it is without that.
So I was about to say it's funny, but it's not funny. It's interesting because when we think of glimmers, I always think they're opposite of triggers now, because this is how my brain has associated that word. Hope, right? It can be fleeting, and like you, in 2017, I got further than making a call. So in Canada, I don't know if we have an equivalent of the Trevor Project and 988
You actually do, and it just came into service like 2 years ago. It's 988.
Oh, it's 988 here as well?
Yes.
Oh, bloody brilliant. Okay, and I should know that. I should. So I'm disappointed in myself for not knowing that. But yeah, so in 2017, I had the same sort of experience in the sense that I had been struggling since I was 11, right? And it got its worst and its darkest 2 to 3 years before 2017. And at this point, I was living in absolute darkness and I lost hope. It went away. So I started to experience on a daily basis hopelessness. And that's not great at all, right? So I made the attempt and actually failed, right? Like, thank God. But I didn't in that moment right away when I was awake in a short stay unit, um, I didn't appreciate the opportunity that I had been given. And in fact, initially I was kind of coming together with like a plan, like, okay, so I need to like get the F out of here and like don't be such a putz and go do a better job, essentially. And then that by day 2, that's shifted from, okay, so I need to make a decision. Do I accept the help that I'm getting here and like make another attempt at trying this thing called life? Or do I just pretend that I'm okay so I can get out and finish the job? And then by day 3, I had discovered radical acceptance, the concept of radical acceptance, and also cognitive restructuring, right? So I've been in therapy a ton. I knew CBT from front to back, but how to employ it, cognitive restructuring, that concept was really new to me. And that was my glimmer. So by day 3, understanding that I could actually just accept that I am type 2 bipolar and that I will live my life in depression, right? And to stop fighting it was something I had not brought into my sphere of understanding before. So I was like, wait, what? Because there was a male practitioner. I've told the story a million times. He came into my room on day 2 and he just looks at me very kindly and he just kind of looks at me like, maybe an older brother would or someone, whatever. And he goes and says, what's going on? Like a blubbering baby, I just bawl my eyes out and tell him everything. And the repeating part of the story that he picked up on was that I was trying to stay above water. I was exhausted. I was tired. I was just trying to keep my head above water. And so he said, and I will say the same thing, and it sounds like I feel like I'm my dad when I say this now, just stop swimming. And so the part that I'm talking about that I'm embarrassed I'm about to say, the antithesis to Finding Dory or Finding Nemo, right? Just stop swimming. Like, accept that you are in this space and acknowledge it, but let it move through you. You don't have to fight it. It's a part of who you are right now. Anyway, it's 9 years now. I think it's 9 years. Who knows what date it is? It's 2017 and now it's 2024. So yes. No. 7? How many years is that?
It's not 2017. 2 years.
8 years? 9 years?
8 years, because we're in 2025.
Okay, thank you.
27 would be 10.
Yes. So, okay.
Okay, now you're making me do math. And
I apologize.
I had to count on my fingers.
That is deplorable of me because I feel the exact same way about math. So I was like, wait a second. I'm like, it's 8 years. So it's 8 years. So the very fact that I am here having this interview with you, Gretchen, is one of those things that I think about that I might never have ever had that opportunity if I had succeeded the first time, or if I didn't get that reignition of hope while I was staying in the short stay unit, right? This wouldn't have been possible. And I think that was the gift I was given by the 3 days I spent in that short stay unit, was someone was able to reignite my hope. And with that, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come right back.
Partner today with CK Sims and Poddin My Noggin to get in front of an audience that cares. You will be supporting mental health stories, tales of resilience, and uplifting content, aligning your brand with bringing goodness, authenticity, and kindness front and center. This spot could be yours. Do you have a story of struggle and resilience? One that you want to share with others and possibly help someone through their own struggles? Find the link in the show description and fill out the guest form today.
Welcome back, everybody. Before the break, we have been talking to Gretchen about her life from childhood, her great upbringing, her wonderful marriage, some of the hardships that you've gone through, and how on Christmas Day, that is a very poignant day to what happened. If you're comfortable with telling.
Oh yeah, I'm totally comfortable. So the last quarter of 2022 was the hardest quarter of my life, even harder than when my mom passed away. So I was given the opportunity to take an early retirement for work. In all other times, that probably would have been a great thing. But, remember, there's ageism in the workforce. I was 59 and a half. So that was one of the things. And then my wife ended up getting shingles. She was down for 8 weeks. And if you've ever been around anybody that's had shingles, there's absolutely nothing you can do to help them.
I had them.
And
it's brutal.
And I am a complete extrovert and an empath. So everything that was going on around me, I was kind of soaking in, but not taking care of myself. So on top of everything else, I hit and killed a deer. I highly do not recommend doing that. I got catfished. We had a really good friend of ours pass away unexpectedly. My father-in-law passed away 2 days before Thanksgiving. You throw in a little bit of holiday depression and some seasonal depression. And then that December here in upstate New York was the coldest winter day ever. It was like minus 22. I just wanted to go for a drive. I needed to clear my head. So I go out to start my car. The car won't start. Because why? Because it's too damn cold outside for the car to start. So I go back inside, totally 100% defeated, right? Mm-hmm. My wife's in the living room. She has no idea what's going on. And I went upstairs. And I was like, I am done. All my life I've been told, you don't talk about mental health or mm-hmm. what's going on. I shoved it down as far as I could shove it, and I didn't have any place else to go. And I was just so frustrated and sad. And, on the outside, I looked fine because I will tell you, nobody knew how depressed I was. Not one single person. Not my wife, not my coworkers, not my friends. Because as an extrovert, I hid it very well. Not very proud of that fact now. Okay, so hindsight is 20/20. I get upstairs to my bedroom and I'm like, I'm done. And then I had remembered that I had read an article about 988 in the U.S. and how it was a crisis line and how anybody could call. I couldn't really talk to my wife because I couldn't find my voice or my footing because I couldn't put a name to what was going on in my head. I look fine out here, but on the inside, I just wanted to die. I was just so done. I picked up the phone. I called 988. It was the most compassionate woman I've ever spoken to in my entire life. She literally saved my life that day. We stayed on the phone for almost 2 hours. And she finally got me to a point where I could go downstairs and talk to my wife about it. My wife was mad, right? Because I couldn't open up to her, that I opened up to a stranger before her. But as the months went on and she finally understood that I just didn't have words for what was going on because I didn't understand it. And I was very fortunate that my friends and my family all rallied around me, and they lifted me up when I couldn't lift myself up. It was the most depressed I've ever been. But I'm very thankful for my therapist. I got a therapist right away. I was able to share my journey on social media, just so everybody knew where I was at. And my sole purpose for doing that was to make sure that nobody felt as alone and terrified as I did, because I was 59 and a half and I couldn't figure out what was going on in my head.
Yeah.
And, my coworker, my podcast co-host, just an amazing human, would find ways to make me laugh at things that we probably should never, ever, ever laugh at, but made me feel better inside. And that was that glimmer of hope that things were going to get better, and they did. Like, my wife told me the other day, this is the happiest she's seen me in 20 years, because I get to live life on my terms now and on nobody else's.
So you're being authentically you.
I am, 100%.
There's power in that.
I'm writing a book about my experience from an extrovert's point of view, giving people some tips and tricks to help out your extroverted friends. My PSA on every talk is reach out to your extroverted friends. We mask our depression well.
So when you said that too, right? Like when you just said that, like nobody had any idea, it fired off a little light bulb in my mind, because no one but the people closest to me knew, because I told them. I had gotten comfortable talking about mental health like a long time ago. But what's interesting about that is that they only knew what I told them. So they didn't know how bad it was. I diluted the darkness. And I think that that's such an important thing to sort of talk about as well, because we often talk about, the revelations after, and the hope that you can find hope or hang on to it in your darkest hour. But there are people out there. I'm an introvert extrovert, so I am socially activated, but I have like a battery, and it's not that big as I get older. So it drains pretty quickly. And then I have to go back into my den and like recharge. But when I was going through this 3 years, like when you were going through your period of depression and sadness and no one knew, I would go to work. I would move through the motions. I could laugh. I could find things funny. I can do all of the things, and nobody would have had any idea that I was struggling in any way, shape, or form. I was the life of the party, the instigator. So it's you can't spot it. It's not something that you can look at someone and decide, okay, this person is totally fine and happy, because you can't gauge anything that way, because there are people out there like you, like myself, and there's a lot of them, because you'll actually know that most depressed people are extraordinary actors in hiding what they're feeling on the inside. The checking in on your extroverts, checking in on the people that you think are okay, your strong friends, check in on them. Ask them, how are they? Not how you doing, because that's a canned response. You're going to get a canned response. Stop them for a moment. Do something to distract them. Hand on a shoulder. Ask them, how are you really doing? Bring them to the moment where they actually have to answer you, because they think about it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, I wished that my coworkers, my friends, my wife had asked me like point blank something I would have had to answer back, but nobody did, right? Because here I am, just smiling and playing, but like what people didn't really pick up on is like this was like November, December. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to be around anybody. I didn't want to put up any Christmas decorations. I didn't want to do jack. I would like lay on my recliner after work. I'd be like, don't talk to me. That should have like, I know, been an immediate like, ooh, something's not going good in her head. But like nobody thought to think about that. And I can't fault them for that. Because they're not used to, weren't used to seeing me in that state.
Well, and I think that's the other part too, right? Like in that state, they might have thought, okay, Gretchen's in a mood, or you know what I mean, like because it can present as many things, it can masquerade as whatever it wants. So you disengaged from your normals, if you will. But why is she unwell? Is she in a bad mood? I'm saying she, and I apologize, I did not confirm.
Oh, yeah. It's, you know what? You can call me whatever. Just don't call me late for dinner. I'm good.
Okay. It is she, her. I know I always ask that on the form, but so don't call you late for dinner. That's a fair thing. I would say the same thing. But yeah, so I think there's moods. Sometimes people can be perceived, oh, Gretchen's more moody than she has been. This is bizarre, but okay, maybe she's a little touchy, so I'm going to give her space. That's a lot of people will look at someone and say, oh, they're not acting normal. I'm going to give them their space. They'll let me know if they're not okay. No, they will not.
Right.
They will not. And I need people to know that. They won't. Because first and foremost, when someone like yourself, who didn't really understand what was going on in your head, when you don't understand what's going on in your head and you can't find words, you are not going to say to someone, I've been thinking this way for a long period of time now, and I don't think I can cope with it anymore. That's not a conversation you want to burden people you care about. It's not a burden, mind you, but in that moment, we think it's a burden. And you're not going to come out and just say, like, usually it takes something like a moment of pause to say, are you okay or whatnot? Or something that's really high stakes to get someone to break enough to show you that they're not okay. On a normal day, you're not going to see it and they're not going to tell you. So you have to ask.
And the other thing, CK, too, is that people just need to be nicer. Okay, there's a lot. There's so much stuff going on in the world today. Like, can you just be kind? Okay, because it costs you absolutely nothing. Just be nice.
I just had a podcast interview that'll come out on Saturday, and we were talking about not politics per se, talking about that very thing, just kindness. And there was a reflection I had recently where I was because I do that a lot. I live alone, and I like to reflect. And I've realized through that reflection that I'm not anti-Republican. I'm anti-hate. I'm anti-taking rights away. What I realized also is that when Republicans do the things that they're doing, we're so quick to shut them down and to say, get off the stage, stop talking. We have no space for you. You're not valid. Right? Now, they do it to us as well. There's reciprocity there for sure. However, if one of us could say, hold up a second, let's talk about why this is so important to you. We know your canned responses, religion, yada, yada, yada. Can we unpack what's really going on? Let's talk about it. Because you're upset. And I want to know why you're upset. And that's kindness. So if we let them have the respect of knowing that whether we agree with what they're doing or not, their belief systems are valid because they're human, right? And we show them, okay, you know what? I don't agree with that thought process, but I hear it and I understand why you might. How can we find common ground? And that, in essence, is just kindness. It's showing humanity. And when you say that, like, people need to be nicer. They need to be nicer, because I go on, if I go on social media, it takes about approximately 15 minutes for my mood to drop from a 10 to at least a 6. I have discovered that the comment section is not a happy place to be most of the time. But like an addict, right? Like an addict, I think we're all have this compulsion to just kind of take a peek, just one peek at what's going on in the comment section. And then you get sucked in, and then you get fired up, and then you get angry. And then you're like, if you're like me at all, you start to feel helpless and powerless and frustrated that we're in this world where digital disinhibition, because that's what's happening, is so rampant, and people can just say all of these terrible, awful things to people.
That they would never say to somebody in person. Ever. So, like, there's 3 mediums that are really horrible: email, text message, and social media comments, right? People say stuff in those 3 mediums that they would never, ever, ever say to somebody to their face. Ever.
What's interesting, too, when you say that, I love how you said that, because the email, text message, whatever, but what's the severity of what they'll say will also change in each medium, because the email comes back to them mostly. Text message, there is repercussion because that can be tracked and traced. Most people know what it is. Social media, however, now you can do that completely anonymously, right? And I did a deep dive, not I think last year around this time, on online hate. And because it was one of those things, I'm like, I think I can tackle this mentally if I deep dive and research it. Well, I mean, I tackled it enough to know that I'm like, it's just, I can't be in there, right? For the most part. But it's interesting to think that they definitely would not say 90% of what they say online in person. And that is because there is the lack of feedback loops in an online situation.
Mm-hmm.
There's no body language, there's no verbal cues, there's nonverbal cues, eyes darting, energy, any of those things. None of the stuff that we usually use when we're in group settings to determine what kind of space we're in or how something might land. They don't exist anymore online. You can just be sitting there like typing and typing. So I personally will not contribute to negativity online, but I will contribute to positivity online. And that's just my small way of fighting the good fight. That's all I know how, right? Is to do that.
It's funny too, because like on my social media post now, I'm like, if you don't have anything nice to say, then don't leave a comment, because I will delete it, because I'm all about like joy and happiness right now. That's why I turned off all the news notifications on my phone. I need my joy. I need my happiness. But then the other thing I do too is, like, I'm really into like raccoon videos now, baby bear videos, birds, people doing nice things for other people. That's what brings me joy. So if I find myself getting aggravated on social media, I will go watch some reels, like get right down into that rabbit hole. But it makes me smile, because I can still see the goodness in the world, even through all the hate.
Yeah, the hate just got a megaphone.
It sure did.
Right? That's what it got. And it's so amplified at this moment in the media, social media, newspapers, wherever you look right now, all you are seeing is hate. Hateful rhetoric, war, crimes, genocide. There, I said it. I just ripped that Band-Aid off. But you know what I mean? Like, all of these terrible things that we're seeing. And regardless of what side of the fence you sit in, conservative or liberal, that is negatively impacting you, whether you think it or not. You may be like, nah, this is good, whatever, blah, blah, blah. We're taking the world back. No, you are damaging yourself and your friends and family, and you need to protect I love the protect your peace thing. I used to live on a side of Instagram, and I don't know how it happened. I need to retrain my algorithm, I think. I used to live on the side of Instagram where I thought it really knew me, because, the learning machines. And it would send me all the uplifting stuff. And I would go to Instagram and just find peace, joy, and happiness, because it would be exactly what you were talking about. Cute videos of like kittens and puppies and, people, everyday heroes, people doing things like, I love that stuff. The warm stuff fills my cup, right? So I wanted to ask you real quick. You said that you started sharing your story immediately after you like your 988 call.
Mm-hmm.
And you had mentioned that you got a lot of like positive feedback at that time. People who were happy to know that they weren't alone, right? I am curious about something, because we were just on a quick topic of online hate, and we're not going to give it anymore. Did you receive any sort of hateful comments during that time?
No, I did not. I was very fortunate. I did lose a handful of friends, right? But I was okay with that, because now I was speaking my truth. I felt like I could air out what was going on with me, and I didn't really care about the repercussions. I just knew that I wasn't hurting as much. And like for the first time in like 3 months, I actually cried, and I cried a lot for like 3 weeks. But I didn't care. Like, if you have something negative to say to me, I don't know, maybe go check yourself. Okay.
Well, that's exactly what I'm thinking about, right? So when you said you lost a few friends, right? Automatically, my first thought was, okay, you started to shine too brightly, right? It starts to show them all their cracks and their discomfort. And they had to step away, because that's very uncomfortable for them. And my second thought was, hopefully, they too will find healing in their journey.
And that's truly what my hope was. And, I kept up on with those like daily kind of like journaling posts for about 6 months, and I'd rate my days between like 1 and 5. I had a whole lot of ones for a long time, and then it started to creep up to like 3s and 4s, and then I had a bunch of 5s that would pop in, and like people were always like chiming in and checking in on me to make sure that I was okay, because I'm everybody's biggest cheerleader. I'm a caregiver by nature. I'm
Like your mom.
always giving, and they just wanted to make sure I was okay. And I
That's
am.
beautiful.
And I want my story to be a story of hope, because I will tell you, every time we start sharing our journeys, we unlock somebody else's prison.
It's poignant and it's true. Also sounds cliche. I know that for some, there's probably some listeners who are out there like maybe eye rolling at this moment. You quit your eye rolling, because it is actually the truth. It is actually the truth. And I just think that I love that you got such a great response to sharing your truth, and sharing such a vulnerable part of your life, right? So one of the things that you had actually said was you were posting your, like, ranking your day from 1 through 5, and you had a lot of ones, and you could start to see the increase to 3 and then move to 5. That speaks to me, because I think that that was my journey as well. And it brings me back, actually, because there's this 6-month period, right, for me, that I was trying to reprogram my thoughts, because that was the source of all of everything for me in a lot of ways, was the negative self-talk that I had, the internal dialogue. And catching those thoughts and trying to reframe them to be neutral or positive was the task at hand. And so I'm an animated person, so I was literally every day like catching thoughts and putting them back inside and all that sort of thing over the course of 6 months, because I was keeping track. It was measurable. in the way that it slowly but surely started to come up. And then I have a puppy. Did I tell you that I have a puppy?
No, you have a
Okay,
puppy.
she has a brand new Piper. Come here. So I've had her now for about 3 weeks. She just turned 3 months old. Piper, that's my dinner, not yours. So she's distracting me at the moment. Still such a great thingy. So, all right. The measurable when you're going through keeping track of your life and you're putting your best foot forward and you're being vulnerable every day, right? You're putting yourself on social media. You're keeping score of what your day looks like. Then when you can take a look back. So now your wife told you that you are currently the happiest you have been, or that she's seen you be in 20 years. And I just want to take a moment and sort of sit with that. Like, what does that feel like for you?
For me, it's everything. So I took that really crappy time in my life and I turned all that pain into purpose. And now I get to live my truth. And I'm doing things today that if you'd asked me 5 years ago, they weren't even on the wheelhouse, not on the vision board, nothing. I have an award-winning podcast that helps people every week. Our mission is to normalize how we talk about mental health. I got to quit my corporate job and I'm working for myself, right? Like
Beautiful.
how freeing is that? I get to make a difference every day, not just for me, but for other people around me. And I get to live my truth. And I didn't ever think that I would have that because, like, in those really dark moments, all that negative self-talk is horrible. But I will tell you the thing that helped me the most, and it was the number one thing my therapist taught me, was boundaries. Boundaries are everything. They're beautiful. For the first time in my life, I can actually say the word no and feel okay about it. And it was absolutely the best freeing feeling ever. Oh, God, I love.
It's Piper's first time on Poddin My Noggin, but she's literally trying to eat my dinner, y'all. So I have to keep her up, or otherwise she's going to do that. I love that so much because that is also my experience. And like, I think that if we can amplify that for people, is that when you start to live authentically you and you drop away any shame you might feel because you don't say fit the norm, or you're processing information differently, or you're depressed, or you have mental health struggles, or whatever that may be, there is a place that you can end up where you might never have ever imagined before. And it's evident right here in this conversation that we've both landed there. If you would have told me in 2017 that there would be a day where I would smile for zero reason, just find myself smiling for zero reason, I would look at you like you were absolutely crazy. I'm like, what? I smile back in 2017. I'm the person now who could just be like walking from the bathroom to the living room and just for some reason, like I'll just get this like warm sort of like whatever and just smile. Like nothing triggers it. It's just happiness. And it's not I don't even know how to explain it really. It's just never thought this version of Curtis could exist. So when I have him now, and this is who I am authentically, I'm like, oh, okay. But I will tell you this, I went through a period where there was always this underlining fear behind me that I could fall back. Do you have that?
Every day. Like, I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop. And, my therapist keeps telling me, like, don't think that way because this is your time. It's our time to shine.
It is hard though.
Very hard.
We want to say, you want to just say someone and shake them and be like, don't think that way. But that's, saying it and then actually putting it into practice is two different things. I will tell you, I want to say all until 2022. Because I think in 2022, no, 2021. 2021 was the one that happened. I went off work because I got, since 2017, there was this sort of false sense of security that I had my mental illness now under wraps. Still always afraid that any day all of it could come flooding back and then I would lose all this wonderfulness that I've created. And it did in 2021, in the beginning part of 2021. It just came back. My bipolar type 2 came back in a massive upswing. And that I felt like I was going to up and move to Mexico and throw everything away. It was during that period and the therapy I received in that period after I realized that I'm like, you know what? Let the shoes drop. Let them drop. Because I know that I can handle it. And I think that you know innately inside you that whatever shoe drops, you can handle it. Yes, the fear's still there. The fear's normal. But I think when you can recognize that if the shoe drops, Gretchen's going to be okay. That's power.
100%. And you know what's funny is while you're saying that, you know, I'm a brand new business owner now. You know, I've had my business open for a couple of months. And, you know, I keep thinking in the back of my head, like, am I really equipped to do this? I am. But I stopped thinking about all the negative stuff that could happen and all the possibilities of what's out there. And being vulnerable and being myself, right? Like I'm never going to change ever. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, though, that really made me think. I've had a lot of really amazing things happen to me over the last couple of months, like things I never planned. And I was trying to explain to somebody that it felt like an avalanche. And they's like, that's all the goodness you put out into the world is now coming back to shower me. And I'm eternally grateful for all of that.
But you're deserving.
I am, but you know, we're our own worst enemies, right?
Oh, absolutely.
In the meantime, like while they're telling me that, I'm like, what kind of crappy thing can I say to myself right now? I couldn't think of anything. So I was like, you know what? I said to myself, I'm really proud of myself for where I've been and where I am now and how I get to help people smile every day. And for me, that's my win.
That's powerful and beautiful. And how I know you're going to be okay, right?
Yeah,
it's I think when you show up authentically, there's a different glow about you, right? Not just about you, about anybody. When you show up authentically, it's like you can see your aura or whatever that may be, that energy that you emit. And it will bring in what you put out. It's just manifestation, really. And the universe is always conspiring for you if you want it to, right? Because I think our thoughts shape our external world as much as they shape our internal world. I like the saying, we're programmed to say, what's the worst that can happen? I like the saying, what's the best that can happen? Right? Because it just changes the whole sentiment altogether. Right? When you go through life thinking, what's the best thing that can happen to me today? Then we're already setting ourselves up for whatever that best thing could be. And to me, when I've only spoken to you for approximately an hour, and I think you are very deserving of all of the blessings and wonder that's coming into your life. I know we're our worst enemies. I know this, like, because I feel like, you know, we're sharing similar paths. Our brains will try and sabotage all of the good and the happiness that surround us. But we just got to keep pushing through.
One thing that I've started doing since January is now I wake up every morning and I tell myself what I'm grateful for that day. And gratefulness is a great way to reset your mind.
Mm-hmm.
I look in the mirror every morning. I tell myself I love myself.
Mm-hmm.
I look outside my beautiful house. I see deer. I'm grateful for all of that. I am grateful to be alive because I get to see what's going to happen tomorrow or the next day or the day after that. And I get to help change the world. And that makes me happy.
I love this. And okay, I'm putting you down, but leave my dinner already. I have problems. So what I love about that is all of the things. Gratitude is my secret weapon. Just 3 things a day. It's often her, because she's just love and curiosity, mind you, and a lot of energy, but she's just love. And no one, I also did not realize ever that having a puppy was this much work. But anyway, I'm happy to have her. I'm grateful for her. But gratitude is so big. So I want to, because I'm cognizant of the time, I want to talk real quick about this award-winning podcast. And I just know that I haven't heard it. I want to now, though. But the podcast is called, and would you normally just say the word?
Yep.
Okay, so Shit That Goes On in Our Heads. Love the title. I think that that's absolutely brilliant. 1 million plus downloads in 60 plus countries. That's incredible. And when was this one started?
February 14th, 2023.
So it's not even been that long, and you're at 1 million downloads. So you are. I need to figure out what your secret is. Maybe the title, and maybe just you being authentically you. I don't know what it is, but now I have to go listen. So it's February 14th, 2023. Now, is this by chance your co-host? You have a co-host with this show?
I do.
Is this the lady we were speaking about before?
No, so that is Dirty Skittles, and she was my manager before I retired. We've been friends for 7 years, and just an amazing, fun, caring soul. We get as much out of the podcast as our listeners do. We call it free therapy. We are actually booked with guests until March of 2026.
That's incredible. That is incredible.
It's wild. We won 2 awards in September of 2024. We won the Women in Podcasting Award and the People's Choice Podcast Award. And we still laugh every day. We would like to know who listens to us, because you know what? We talk about really hard stuff. And yes, we do laugh about some of it. Hindsight is 2020. I can speak for myself. If you want a really good, funny episode, this is the episode. I should have known that something was wrong. So in December of 2022, about 2 weeks before Christmas, we had gone to New York City. Go back and listen to that episode. It's season 1, episode 3. Don't listen around small children. I say the F word a whole lot during that episode.
You're my people.
I lost my phone. But it was a really good episode and gave some really good life lessons and things to remember when you're traveling. We are 110 episodes in, and I'm thankful that I get to do this with Dirty Skittles. She brings out the best in me every single episode.
I love that her name is Dirty Skittles. Just love this automatically. And is Gretchen Schoser your name on there as well?
No, my name on that podcast is G-Rex. So as a kid, I'm very small. I'm 4'11". I have really short arms. So my brothers and sister used to call me G-Rex. It's for T-Rex. So I'm G-Rex.
So first off, I'm surprised by the really small comment, because this is going to sound ridiculous, but I imagined you and see you right now as being very tall. That's what I see in my mind's eye, is that you're a very tall. I think it's your energy and your spirit is maybe very tall.
My body size, 4'11". Shrinking every year. So by the time I hit 62 in a couple of months, I bet I shrink down to 4'10".
Well, I think we do that, right? As we get older.
Yeah.
we do start to shrink. I don't know the science behind it, but they do always say good things come in small packages, right? So
Yep.
G-Rex comes from growing up. You were shorter with shorter arms.
Yep.
That's not kind as a child, but
Not kind.
uh, but it's fine. So you've taken that as well, and then you have a message for people who are listening. So, what would you say to people who are listening to this particular podcast right now? It will not be 1 million people. We might get about 50 in total, but everyone starts somewhere. What would you say to them?
Protect your peace. Find the things that make you smile every single day. And if you have friends that are usually very happy and very extroverted, please check in on them. It takes one simple text. How are you? But make it a little bit more than that and ask them something that you know they have to answer. You could possibly save their life.
Absolutely. You want to break the cycle. You want to break their. I just had the word and it went. But like the canned response sort of automation. The word came back and it went again. Anyway, you want to break that. So don't give them a question that's going to they can just say yes or good. Something they're so used to. The word just keeps coming up and then fleeting the second I try and think of it. I'll think of it at 3:00 in the morning. But yeah, so you want to just break that sort of normal canned response, auto response. Auto response was the word that I was trying to find. Auto responses, and get them to answer your question. So, Gretchen, what is next for you in this big, wonderful life that we are living right now?
A lot. So I'm finishing my book. I was almost done and then decided to quit my job. And I wanted to have that, what I'm doing now, as my final chapter of like what I went through to what I became. Mm-hmm. I'm out there trying to find new customers for my business. I work because I want to and not because I have to.
Yes, so you started a, give me a second, a talent, and it should be on my page, but of course, talent and wellness solutions. So it's Schoser Talent and Wellness Solutions.
Yep.
And so that is going into businesses and helping them foster better well-being for their employees, mental health, that sort of thing.
100%. Because in business, when people are going through change, they forget to take into account employees' mental health. They only show them the future state. They don't show them that transition period. And if you have anybody that's got like Asperger's or bipolar or ADHD, change like that really throws employees off kilter. And so I am developing some programs and some workshops for people to attend and some free ebooks that will help them think about being in that mindset when they're implementing change. And it goes as far as like, layoffs and things like that. Like taking into consideration people's mental health will help your bottom line. And then the technical side of my business is I have 16 years experience with UKG recruiting and onboarding. And so I do implementations, help people bring that software to life. And I get, like I said, I get to do the things that I love the most. I get to work on my podcast. I get to run my business. I told my wife today that, as soon as it gets warmer, I'm going to start taking 2 days off a week so we can go and do something fun.
Love this. So Anyway, I am a consultant. I work in transformation, currently implementing half and half UKG, my Kronos sort of software implementation here in Canada. I'm very focused on transformation and the people-centric side of transformation. Like that is my wheelhouse, and making sure that exactly what you just said, like that is if you're going to say that you're people first, then you have to understand that people emote differently, especially people who are already marginalized in, say, with disabilities or disorders, things like that. Not everyone's going to experience that change the same way. So if you're going to come with change initiatives, make sure that they're robust and they're open for all the different types of people that you're going to come in contact with. And change is the one thing in life that's always inevitable. Like we go through it in our personal lives and businesses. Technically, if a business is not in a constant state of change, then it's not growing or innovating. So how can we set up businesses for long-term success and put that framework in for actual change to work for everybody? And people are the bottom line. Oh my god, I could go off on a tangent. We could talk another hour. But the thing for me is we need to look at transformation and start pulling away from numerical transactions and looking at the people. Because yes, when you focus on the people, if you started to make that shift today, you are not going to get those numerical KPI victories really quick, like you would if you just sort of laid off half your workforce and we're like, look all the profit that we retained in this quarter. You lost all your people. Like, come on, like this makes no sense. But in the long run, you're future-proofing your business because you are creating buy-in and loyalty with those people because you care about them. And when you care about people, they care about you back. Typically, that's how it works. Kindness is reciprocated often. Then people might be shocked at first that you actually give a damn about what's going on in their lives. But when they start to learn that you mean it and that you're authentic, then there ain't nobody in the world that could come between that particular employee and you as their leader. Nobody.
100%. Like I said, kindness costs nothing. Nothing.
Absolutely.
And be kind to yourself, right? Like everybody also needs to remember patience and grace.
Yes. Wise, Gretchen. You have been an absolute delight. So for anybody at home, I want you to go, because I'm going to now as well, check out Shit That Goes On in Our Heads. It's by Dirty Skittles and G-Rex. Okay, I got it right. Perfect. Then also, I know you're in upstate New York, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But do you do this work only in person, or do you do it? Are you open to remote opportunities as well?
I prefer remote because it's just easier. Like we can do everything remotely, and it's perfect.
Absolutely.
And I love it. I get to meet.
Your business can be global.
It can be global if I want to. If I want to take my laptop and go fishing, I can still do my job. I love helping people. I like making people think about what they're doing and doing it with a smile because change is, like you said, change is hard. Not everybody is very well acclimated at going through change. But yeah, I'm remote, but I would travel if I needed to. Maybe by car because I'm not really into flying right now.
No, well, I can understand why. So that's a different topic, a podcast episode, but I can understand why. So by car. So upstate New York, y'all, if you are looking for someone to help you set your business up for change and wellness, because this is a big part of that puzzle, okay? People whose well-being being good means your business is going to be good. It's very simple. So if you need help with that, reach out to oh my gosh, Schoser. I almost said it the other way with the first way I said it. Schoser Talent and Wellness Solutions.
Yep.
Check that out. I will link the website for the podcast, the company, all of that in the description of this particular podcast. This is my longest podcast in a while. Now, I know we have at least a good 6 or 7 minutes that need to be edited out because of what happens, but that's all fine and dandy. You have been a wonderful and incredible treat to talk to you. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
One of the best conversations I've had in a long time. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you. It takes two. Remember.
It does. Takes two.
It does take two. So keep an eye out. Do we have a title for your book?
No, I'm still rummaging it through ChatGPT, trying to figure out a good title. I will say that I do use the F word about 467 times in the book. So
that's my book, kind of my people is people who will swear. I've heard and read, not once, I've seen it quite a number of times, that people who swear a lot are the most trustworthy people in the world. I don't know why that is or what the science behind it may be, but I know that I'm a very trustworthy person. But I have a potty mouth. It's just potty all the time. And because my parents are ministers, I have to often put my parental filter on. But not on my podcast, because I told them point blank, you're not allowed to watch this because we talk about things that would be offensive to you. But anyway, so the book is coming. You're working on the title, so we'll make sure that we can keep track of the book when it comes out. I would like to extend to you, when the book is finished and you're ready to publish, please let me know. I would love to read it and then have you on the show and talk about it.
I would love that. And there's just so many other cool things happening in the next couple of months. Like I said, I'm thankful for that glimmer, and so extremely thankful to be alive.
I am thankful for that glimmer as well. Not for me, for you, right? You're doing good work, and you're living authentically you, and it shines through you. It comes through you. So thankful for the glimmer and for 988, y'all. So if you are in Canada or the United States and you are experiencing any sort of mental distress, any sort of crisis whatsoever, please just pick up your cell phone and dial 988. You will be connected to a crisis counselor who, very similarly to what they did for Gretchen, get you to a safe place.
Amen. 100%. Okay? Yep.
And even if you don't feel like there is hope, there is. Both of us are living examples of that being just true. All right. Thank you, Gretchen, again for being here. And to everyone at home, get out there and live your wildest dreams. Until next time.
For media and sponsorship inquiries, email info@ccsims.com or visit ccsims.com and fill out the contact form. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. A new episode airs every Saturday. CKS Media.